Okay, so now let's get into this and talk about manipulating, creating assets with roster-based or vector-based software. So if you read this article from the University of Michigan Library, it does a great job of describing the simple differences between raster and vector images. And it also down here at the bottom gives you different software that you can use. So we're going to start with vector images, and we're going to use Adobe Illustrator, which is industry standard. Inkscape is your open source alternative. So if for whatever reason you just can't get Illustrator to work, then you'll have to try and use Inkscape, which is free, and you can download that. And I'm not going to demonstrate how to use Inkscape because I want everybody to be using Illustrator. But that is an alternative for you, especially in your own work if you choose not to get Illustrator or if it's too expensive for you. But I'm going to use Illustrator today, and again, you should have downloaded and used the free trial. So all you're going to do is go ahead and click and open up Illustrator. And it'll take just a minute for that to open up. Illustrator is a pretty robust program, so it can be kind of taxing on your computer. If you have a real emergency getting Illustrator or Inkscape to work, I want you to email me right away and we'll discuss it. But, if you're going to do stuff with raster or vector art, which is necessary, to create applications, then this is really the software that you want to use. We use this in my interactive web design course that I teach also for the community colleges. And inside of this, just click new once Illustrator's open. So you're going to create a new file, and then I'll just click on web, and I'll click on the common tab and go down here and click create. And all that's doing is creating a new file and putting a canvas up for you. Now, I want you to do a very simple vector art. And so I'm just going to go over here, and you've got a different a shape tool over here. This is your selection tool. This is direct selection, and this is your pen tool. This is for text, typing text. This is your line tool. Tons of stuff in here, and we're not going to get into all of that today. I just want you to just get the most basic introduction to Illustrator and Photoshop doing this assignment. So I'm just going to click on this shape tool, and it immediately has rectangle tool selected. But if I click and just hold down, then it'll give me these other options. I used the star tool for the example I showed you before, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So if I click on the star tool and come over here, I can just drag, and it draws a simple star. If I use the up arrow or down arrow, it changes the number of points on the star, right? So I can go way up, okay? So I'm going to do is draw this star. Let's see if I just go back to the basic star. And if I just release now, there it is. So if you look over here and hover over this box, that tells you that's the fill color. If you hover over this one, it tells you that's the stroke color. So right now the fill color on my star is white, as you can see on the screen. So if I click on this box, double click on it, then it's going to give me this color picker tool. And I can pick the color by clicking around inside of this and moving this up and down to different colors and select my color this way. Or I could go over here and select color swatches. And then this will give me a little bit easier way to select a color. So let's say I just want to do a yellow star. So I'll click on that and click OK, and now my star is going to be yellow. For the stroke color, that's the line around the edge of the shape. So if I double click on that and go to color swatches, now I can say, let's see, I'm going to make it an orange line around the outside of it and click OK. But now you really can't see that because the line is so thin. So if I go up here, and you'll see this stroke is written right there, and it says 1 point. Okay, that's very thin. If I click the up arrow, now you can see that it's making that stroke thicker. Okay, so that's one shape. Let's say I wanted to draw my own shape. I could go over to this pen tool right here and click on that, and then I'll click on the screen once, and that's my anchor point. It's going to draw a straight line to wherever I click next. So let's say I just want to make a diamond shape. So if I click here, it's going to make that line. Go to here, And you can see the stroke is orange because that's that's the stroke color that I've selected. You look over here, still orange for the stroke color. Okay, so then I go back over here, I'm creating a diamond, I can just click around like this, and the fill color is yellow just like it was with the star. Then go back to my anchor, and now it's filled that polygon in. Okay, if I decide I'm not happy with that color scheme, once again, I can double click on stroke, go to color swatches, select green, click OK, and now that's going to be green. I go back over here and select on the fill color. Again, just go back over, color swatches. Let's say I want to make it blue. Click OK, and now it's done that. Okay, so that's two different ways to create a shape. You could also go over to the brush tool here and hold down and go to blob brush. Okay, and now you're going to have this brush tool. If you look, there's this little tiny dot off the edge of the brush, and that's the size of the brush right now. I want it to be bigger. So on the right-hand side of your keyboard, up towards the top, are the two bracket keys. There's the opening bracket and closing bracket, okay? So the opening bracket kind of looks like that, and the closing bracket kind of looks like that, okay? Those are the keys that will decide, change the size of your brush. So if I click on the closing brush, this one right here, if I click on the one that looks like that, it will make the brush get bigger. And you can see right there the brush is getting bigger. Okay, and so now if I paint, it's going to be a big thing. Now, if I use this key right here, which is I call the opening bracket key, it looks like that. If I hit that button, it's going to make the brush get smaller. So if I go to about this size, I could choose to make a ping that is a smiley face, okay, or whatever I chose to create. Now, to export this image, I need to have just one image up on the screen. So let's say I'm going to choose to make my smiley face image. Okay, delete all of this stuff, and I'll go up here to the File dropdown, File, Export, Export As. I'm going to make sure that down here I've selected Ping, PNG. Then I'm going to name this Smiley 1, okay? And I'm going to export that to my desktop. And you can see this checkerboard pattern behind the smiley face. That tells me that it's transparent, okay? That it has a transparent background. That's why we're using pings, okay? So that you have a transparent background. And I click OK. And now, if I minimize Illustrator, you'll see the smiley face ping is now on my desktop. Okay, so if I go back over to Illustrator and I decide I want to change the color of the smiley face, then all I do is go back over here to Fill, double click, go to my color swatches, pick a color, let's say blue, click OK. Now I have a blue smiley face, and I can go File, Export, Export As, click on Export As. Make sure Ping is selected down here in the format, and I'll go Smiley 2. Putting that on my desktop, hit Export, click OK. And now if I minimize and look at my desktop, I can see that I've got Smiley 1 and Smiley 2. And so let's just go ahead and make my third ping. So I'll expand Illustrator again, highlight the color, or highlight the object rather, double click on the fill box, go to swatches, and let's make it orange. I'll click OK, and now it's orange. File, Export, Export As, Smiley 3. Naming is very important because you're going to need to put the right name in to the code inside of Android Studio when we ultimately put this into the app. Click Export, click OK. Now minimize. And there are my 3 smiley faces, okay? So I'm going to create a folder, call it Smiley, or Smileys. Take those and drag them, drop them into that folder so I know where to find them. Okay, so that's how you create an asset using Adobe Illustrator. And the next video, I'll show you how to create ping assets using Adobe Photoshop.